Ka nui te mihi kia koutou. Kia ora, good morning everybody. A very warm welcome to all of you. Firstly, I just want to speak directly to the New Zealand people, and I want to say thank you to all of you for your patience and your understanding and the wait for this government to be formed over the last 20 days. I think it is a real credit to New Zealanders that we now handle the MMP process with such calmness and maturity. I also want to thank Chris Hipkins and the outgoing caretaker government for all of their assistance during this transition. And also on behalf of the country, I want to thank the public service for so calmly keeping on during this period. The new government is looking forward to working with you and to delivering the government's program and to getting things done for Kiwis. I said on election night that we would be a government that would deliver for every New Zealander, regardless of who we are, where we are, and whatever our life circumstances are. How we do that has been at the very core of our negotiations. The negotiation process has been diligent, it's been focused and it's been purposeful, because our aim has simply been not to form a government, but to form a strong and stable government that gets things done for Kiwis. On election night, New Zealanders voted for change, and they put their trust in us. And in return, we trust New Zealanders. We believe in this country, we are ambitious for it, and we know that with the right leadership, the right policies and the right direction, together, New Zealanders can make this an even better country. I'm here with ACT Leader David Seymour and also New Zealand First Leader Winston Peters, and I want to publicly thank both of them for the way in which our negotiations were conducted so professionally and with goodwill and with good faith on all sides. What we have achieved together, I think, is historic, because it is in fact the very first time in New Zealand's MMP history that we have had a three-party coalition government, with all parties represented in Cabinet. ACT and New Zealand First have agreed to support the major elements of National's extensive policy program. Both coalition documents provide for the two parties to support the commitments that we made in our 100-day plan, our 100-point economic plan, and our tax and our fiscal plans, with some adjustments to some of those policies. And the National and ACT coalition agreement provides that the government will progress a range of ACT initiatives, and that these will in fact be supported by New Zealand First. Equally, the National and New Zealand First coalition agreement outlines a range of New Zealand First priorities which will be supported by ACT. And that result is a true three-party coalition government with a strong parliamentary majority and a comprehensive policy program for the next 3 years that will get New Zealand back on track. And we are now ready to go to work for New Zealand and for all New Zealanders. Our government will rebuild the economy to ease the cost of living and to deliver tax relief and to increase the prosperity of all New Zealanders. Our government will restore law and order and personal responsibility so that Kiwis are safer in their own communities. And our government will deliver better public services so they are more efficient, more effective and more responsive to the Kiwis who need them. And our government will strengthen democracy. We now have a very comprehensive and ambitious program to deliver these goals, so let me just touch on a couple of points for you. Overwhelmingly, New Zealanders' primary concern is the high cost of living, and a change of government alone doesn't make life easier. However, the things that we do will make the difference. One of those is tax relief, because the coalition parties believe that people should be rewarded for their effort. Hard-working Kiwis should keep more of what they earn, and our government will deliver on that promise. The coalition parties have adopted ACT's policy to speed up the rate in which interest deductibility for rental properties is restored, and the tax package will be continued to be funded through a combination of spending reprioritisation and additional revenue measures. However, as part of National's agreement with New Zealand First, the proposed foreign buyer tax will no longer go ahead. The government will treat taxpayers' money with respect, and we will be disciplined in our spending. And to help deliver modern and reliable infrastructure, we will establish a National Infrastructure Agency to improve funding, procurement and delivery. We will begin work on 13 new roads of national significance and 4 major public transport upgrades. And the government will progress the Regional Infrastructure Fund proposed by New Zealand First with $1.2 billion in capital funding for regional infrastructure. And the government will adopt ACT's policy to establish a new agency to remove red tape and assess the quality of new and existing regulation. And that agency will be funded by disestablishing the Productivity Commission. The Reserve Bank Act will be amended to focus monetary policy on price stability. Now, New Zealanders also expect our government to better deliver against countering crime and delivering justice. and legislation to bring in National's backing police tackling gangs policy will be introduced in the first 100 days. The parties have agreed with ACT to rewrite the Arms Act to provide for greater protection of public safety and to simplify regulation and regulatory requirements. And we have agreed with New Zealand First to train no fewer than 500 new frontline police over the next 2 years. And all of us have agreed on revisiting the Sentencing Act to ensure that there are appropriate consequences for offenders. Now, part of treating taxpayers' money with respect is ensuring that New Zealanders get better value from government spending. And we should all feel confident that the money is being well spent and that, for example, kids are getting a good education at schools and that the health system is effective and responsive. We'll ensure that by setting targets like shorter wait times in hospitals and wait lists and holding ourselves accountable for delivering them. And whether you are old or young, regardless of your ethnicity, if you live in central Auckland or the deepest south, our government is going to deliver for you. The government's commitment to lifting educational attainment means that every class will be taught an hour of maths, reading and writing each and every day. And the coalition parties agree that beyond 2025, the first year of fees-free for tertiary study will in fact be replaced by offering the final year of study fees-free. The parties accept ACT's policy to reintroduce partnership schools and to allow state schools to become partnership schools, and accept New Zealand First's policy to refocus the school curriculum on academic achievement and teaching the basics, not pure ideology. There are so many more things that I could mention, but I wanted to give you a flavour of how our policy agreements come to life. They will be released publicly in full, and everyone, of course, is free to read them for themselves. Let me turn to the structure of the government, because the basis, as I have said, is that we will be a three-party coalition government. I will be the Prime Minister, Mr Peters will be Deputy Prime Minister for the first half of the term, and Mr Seymour will be for the second half. In addition, Mr Peters will be Minister for Foreign Affairs, and Mr Seymour will be Minister for Regulation. Our Cabinet will have 20 ministers, 14 from National and 3 each from ACT and New Zealand First. There will be 8 ministers outside of Cabinet, 5 from National, 2 from ACT and 1 from New Zealand First. ACT and New Zealand First will each have 1 parliamentary Under-Secretary. And I have to say, I think it's a very strong team. We have first-time ministers, and I want to congratulate each and every person on their appointment to the ministry. The full ministerial list is available, so I won't go through it now, but suffice to say that I'm incredibly pleased to confirm that Nicola Willis will be Minister of Finance and Minister for Public Service. Brooke van Velden will be Minister for Workplace Relations and Safety, and Shane Jones will be Minister for Regional Development. And National will be nominating Jerry Brownlee as Parliament Speaker. So let me now hand over to Winston Peters to say a few words before I wrap up, and then I'll pass on to David Seymour to say a few words, and then we will move to the table to do our signing of our documents. Winston, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Prime Minister. And David, congratulations, and thanks for the chance to form a government that's desperately needed in this country at a time when so many issues were at an inflection point. We had to succeed, and we have. The second thing is these were seriously long, difficult and complicated talks, arduous in the extreme, and we expected nothing less because that's the nature of life itself, where we are as a country. So thank you for that. The other thing is that everything we want to say from New Zealand's first point of view is in our coalition agreement. We went to the wire for our people in the same way that David Seymour did for his, and Mr Luxon did for his as well, and that's the nature of these coalition talks. Please understand it was under 3 weeks. Please do not be mathematical morons and keep on saying it's 40 days, because if we'd have started the coalition talks on election day, you would have been arguing, wait until the special votes are counted. Now, please tell the New Zealand people for the first time in 30 years how it works, and that we took 5 months less, 5 months less than Germany took in 2017. And don't argue about it. There's not a competition here. You want to argue with me, you should have been there before the election. Maybe I'd have got more votes.
All right. Okay.
So back to the point here. Everything is in the coalition agreement that we wanted. It speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And we, in New Zealand First, for our part, know that there's going to be a much, much better government.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Winston. Thank you for those remarks. David, over to you.
All right, well, look...
We're back, okay?
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Winston. I think it's fair to say New Zealanders voted for change because our country faces serious challenges. Far more people have said our country is going in the wrong direction than the right direction for too long, and it's not difficult to see why. Under Labor, we've seen costs rise too fast, crime rise too fast, and our society become too divided. However, we must now draw a line under that and work to ensure New Zealanders have hope that a government can indeed deliver better public services in return for their hard-earned taxes, unite New Zealand under our similarities rather than divide us by our differences, and ensure that we once again can be proud to say that our country is going in the right direction under this government. Over the past period of time, I have worked with Winston Peters and Christopher Luxon, and what I can tell you is that while the negotiations have been robust, so has the growth in respect amongst us and the reservoir of trust and belief that will allow us to together work through the challenges our country will no doubt face. I look forward to working with them, and I thank them for their professionalism and collegiality through what has sometimes been a difficult process, but ultimately a successful one, something that we will no doubt face many times over the coming 3 years. From the point of view of the ACT Party, I believe that we have made a positive and substantial contribution to this government's agenda. We campaign not only to change the government, but to ensure that it is a government of real change. For far too long, New Zealanders have been made poorer than they need to be because we spend too much time complying with bad rules and not enough time being productive. Passing the Regulatory Standards Act, having a Minister and Ministry of Regulation will be the insurance we need to tell the world New Zealand is finally taking the quality of lawmaking and regulation seriously. Government waste will be seriously reduced, beginning with a commitment to reduce non-essential back office civil servants back to the levels we saw in 2017. In monetary policy, the Reserve Bank will again be properly focused on doing the job it should have been doing properly for the past 3 years, and that is ensuring price stability. In workplace relations and safety, Brooke van Velden will lead important work, ensuring that employment law is fair again and health and safety regulations are workable. Immigration will again be human, allowing parents to come on a parent category visa, a promise that's been denied despite the expectations of so many migrants who chose our country for so long, while, among other changes, those who are the partner of somebody on a work visa will themselves be able to work and pay tax. In government, we will see a full replacement of resource management law, beginning with a founding principle of property rights, which has been absent from those laws for far too long. Landlords will again be treated with dignity so that more people might want to be one, and tenants will have a greater chance of having a place to live, particularly if they have pets, and especially if that pet is a very good boy, in which case pet bonds will be available. In rural New Zealand, we'll finally see a return to treating rural New Zealand with respect and dignity, including localising the freshwater regulation making and also ensuring that we have a split gas approach. 3 strikes will be back. Prison capacity for adult and youth offenders will be expanded in order that the victim is put back at the centre of the justice system. Licensed firearm owners have been treated abominably over the past 4 years by the previous government, and we are all less safe as a result. I'll be proud to watch Nicole McKee bring about fair and reasonable firearm laws that not only treat those people in our community who are licensed firearm owners with respect and dignity, but actually make all of us safer, because the laws that Labor put in place have not worked on that most basic measure. Education will see the return of partnership schools, kura horua, or as they are more commonly known, charter schools, with the ability for state schools to take on charter school status. There is nothing more important than in New Zealand on any particular day than how many kids actually show up to school and what they learn. What we're doing right now is not working. We must do better, and we know that we can. In health, we'll see a range of reforms, including much needed and long overdue reforms to Pharmac, but also pseudoephedrine-based medication available again next winter for those who have suffered so badly through these weak and ineffective medications without actually reducing the amount of methamphetamine traded. That is a return to common sense and also great relief. Oranga Tamariki will be reformed, with Karantua completing an extraordinary journey from a victim of SIPs to the Minister for Children, with the power and opportunity to make that dysfunctional organisation work for some of the most vulnerable people in our society. There will be wholesale reform of the government's approach to applying social services. We will no longer be treating people differently based on ethnicity as a starting point. We will be focusing public services on need. We will also advance ACT's Treaty Principles Act. It will be drafted, voted on, sent to Select Committee and consulted on. The responsibility for persuading our coalition partners and the New Zealand public that kaupapa should continue to enhance the mana of the treaty by for the first time debating democratically what our founding document means in the modern age deserves to continue through later stages and to referendum as a corollary from that. In conclusion, we campaigned to change the government. We've done that. We campaigned on real change. We've contributed alongside our partners to doing that. Those who trusted ACT with their party vote will see that their trust was well placed. But government is not just a reward, it is an opportunity to do good. And now we grasp that opportunity with both hands to do good for all New Zealand. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Winston. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you, David. Well, listen, on election night I said that we'd listened to the public and we'd heard a description of a better New Zealand, and that's what we're going to deliver, and that's what you've heard, I think, this morning as well. New Zealanders want change that makes our lives easier. We want change that improves our opportunities. We want change that makes our great country even better. And this coalition government is going to deliver that change. And we will do it through a common sense policy program that we all share, while maintaining the core values that each of us believes in and that New Zealanders would expect us to uphold. And after the mess that Labour has left behind, turning around the country will take time, because it is a big job and we have to get it right. But the government, community and businesses will get the job done by working together. We cannot wait to get stuck in. And so regardless of whether you voted for us or not, we all share an interest in living in a safer, stable country that celebrates fairness and wants the best for every New Zealander. We all want to restore the promise of New Zealand, which is simply that if you work hard in the best country on planet Earth, you should be able to get ahead. Now we're going to go sign these coalition agreements, and then the three of us will come back to the lecterns to take any of your questions. Thank you. Let's go this way. Righto. Can I again say thank you so much for coming along, and we're happy to take any questions that you may have. Well, look, I mean, the reality is the convention over successive governments has been that you always want the coalition leader to be the Deputy Prime Minister. And this is no different in this case. We've done something historic. We actually have 3 parties in a coalition government. And as a result, we're doing something historic around the Deputy Prime Minister role. We've actually split it in half the time will be done by Winston, half the time will be done by David.
How are we going to pay for tax cuts without the foreign buyers?
Well, look, I want to be really clear. We are going to deliver tax relief as we promised and the amounts that we promised to working and lower and middle income workers in New Zealand. There's no doubt about that. But what we have agreed with New Zealand First is we won't progress the foreign buyer ban. We won't be repealing that. But we have, through the process, discovered that we have buffer in our tax plan, as we said, going into this. We also have additional savings and additional revenue raising mechanisms as well.
Why not let the leaders speak to
Well, look, I mean, you've got to make sure that there's actually, it was a very magnanimous conversation with both gentlemen, to be honest, about how to do it, and it was respectful for everybody. And I think we are using the talents of both of these leaders as Deputy Prime Minister. The fact that they have 18 months each doing the job is important. I'm looking forward to working with both of them, and I think that's respectful.
Can I just say, this is no longer Jessica, Toba, right? We're going to have a balanced media from here on in. And so I want everybody to get a fair question here, just not 2 of you. Unbelievable.
Yeah, look, going into this, we had built buffer into our tax plan. We'd also built buffer into our broader fiscal plan, as we've talked about. As we've come through the conversations, the policy mix that we have together has also generated additional savings. So if you think about things like moving fees free from first year to third year, with the dropout rate, that actually helps us. We actually have things like more investment around tax audits. We also have things where we are choosing to actually cancel what we're planning to do around the app tax. We actually are going to not progress the working for family credits in 2026. Yeah, on the Regional Infrastructure Fund, I'd just say to you, I think that is a fantastic invention because it is $1.2 billion in capital expenditure. And as you will remember in our fiscal plan, we built in quite a lot of room around actually our CapEx expenditure. And actually all parties want to invest in modern, reliable infrastructure. And so National Enact, for example, had a very big commitment around city and regional deals. New Zealand First had its Regional Infrastructure Fund, and so there's very good alignment around that. And at the end of the day, everybody's very committed to making sure we get strong, modern, reliable infrastructure in regional New Zealand. Sorry, I'll come back. All we're saying is we want to broaden the terms of the COVID inquiry so it considers more things and broaden the terms of reference. And it's going to consider a range of topics, including social but also economic impacts as well. No, I don't think so. I think it's important that we actually have a proper, broader COVID inquiry. It's important for New Zealand in terms of what we need to learn for the future as well. Sorry, Toba?
Isn't it less democratic to push that bill through Parliament and not take it to a referendum to the people?
Well, our view is that we have said our government is actually going to support the passing of that bill through the first reading into the Select Committee, and that is the extent of our commitment at this stage. And so, that's where we are with that. Sorry, Jason? Oh, sorry.
Well, the reality is that what Mr. Seymour's asked for, he's got. And whether that happens will depend on the wisdom of the submissions to the Select Committee and what new information that Parliament accepts to be true to take it forward in the way Mr. Seymour needs. However, that's what we've all agreed on. So I'm not going to jump to a conclusion, like some, and decide everything before I've seen the evidence.
David, did you want to say something about that?
No, I'm happy with that.
Christopher Luxon, just following up on the treaty. How can you have a treaty negotiations minister who believes on balance colonisation was good for Māori?
What I'd say to you is we're going to have a good treaty negotiations manager in Paul Goldsmith. He's going to go around and make sure that we do the work with the remaining treaty settlements that need to be closed out. It's hard work, but sorry. I can tell you, Paul Goldsmith, having been a historian, having actually worked at the Waitangi Tribunal when he first graduated, will actually do that job very effectively. Correct. This is everything fully here. Yep.
And just on when Parliament's going to be sitting, on December 5th,
yes.
you're also committed to getting things done quickly. Why not do it this coming Tuesday? Why wait until then?
Well, look, the plan from here is that actually we're doing a formal announcement, formal signing, talking about our ministerial responsibilities and announcing that today. Over the course of the weekend, all the parties will move into our respective offices. We'll have a swearing-in ceremony at Government House at 11 o'clock on Monday, and then we'll have actually a couple of cabinet meetings potentially next week, yet to be determined, and then we'll be ready to go for the 5th of December. Sorry, Claire? Sorry, Jane?
Well, first of all, we'll be on the road to make sure we keep all our contacts alive and not neglect them year after year in the way that has recently happened with the cognizance, understanding and sympathy of the New Zealand media. Foreign affairs does matter to this country. The Blue Continent matters to this country. Every relationship we've got matters big time, and we've let some of them flag, and we cannot afford the consequences of letting that go ahead. So we're going to hit the road running, so to speak. And I'm very delighted to say that so many of my former colleagues have been in touch on the basis of rumours that some people spread. Thank me for coming back.
Sorry, can I go to Claire and then we'll go to Tova?
Well, what do you mean about the position the former government has taken? The former government took the same position as the previous government when I was the foreign minister. So what changed? Nothing. And it won't change now. We expect the Chinese, regardless of our size, to treat us in the same way as we treat Niue. Size doesn't matter. Respect does. That's all we ask for.
Claire? Yeah, look, we're really conscious of that we actually all have three different political identities, and we want to allow space for that in the ways of working. We spend a lot of time, it was the second tranche of work that we focused on after agreeing the policy program, was our mechanisms for working together in government. We will have a coalition committee, basically, that is a clearinghouse for any tensions or potential conflicts that are coming at us. We will meet regularly in each sitting session to be able to deal with that. But we have, we've established good rapport, good relationships. We expect direct and upfront conversation between the leaders. We also expect to have, a clearinghouse, as I said, through this committee process, which will be just the leaders and our deputies with us. And then likewise, we've got good agreements around no surprises and agree to disagree clauses as well. So we spent a lot of time to make sure that we had a common understanding of how we actually want to function and work. We know what we're doing is difficult and challenging with three parties involved, but we have massive alignment around the goals. We'll have differences of opinion on how best to deliver those, but between the three of us, I'm very confident we'll be able to work together very constructively. Sorry, Tova. Oh, sorry, Claire. Yep. Sorry, keep going.
Well, I think first of all the focus on capital expenditure, that's something that's going to be there for a long time. Second of all, I think the fact that we've got a coalition government that is going to be very focused on making the best possible use of every taxpayer dollar, and I'm sure that together we can make good investments that benefit regional New Zealand, and I'm sure that New Zealand First with Shane Jones and Winston Peters will have good insight on how to do that.
Sorry, Tova. Absolutely.
Pipa? No, we don't answer stupid questions. We've shaken hands here to be capable of earning trust. Please understand what real life looks like for adults. We've shaken hands on a commitment to make this government work because this country desperately needs it. Make no bones about it.
untrustworthy politician in New Zealand?
I trust all ministers in our cabinet. That's how cabinet collective responsibility works, and that's how I'll operate.
I also see a commitment to you that you will see out this agreement will last the entirety of the term. You'll see everything that you've put down.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we've taken 20 days to actually go through every line item of each of our 3 party manifestos to make sure that we've got a comprehensive work program that actually brings us together. We've agreed the processes of how we want to work together, and we've put the right people in the right places and the right jobs. Sorry. Yes, sorry, Ben. No, that wasn't the case. It was just a function of Simon Watts will be our climate change minister. He'll be excellent in the job. It sits outside of cabinet, but the reality is it's a very important agenda for us, and we're all committed to that. Absolutely. Yeah, all of us are united in the fact that we want the public service delivering outcomes and results, and likewise our ministers. Sorry? Again, we'll manage that between the 3 of us as leaders to make sure we're making progress through our programs and delivering and reviewing performance regularly. That's what the Clearinghouse Committee is for. Sorry? Sorry? Yeah, look, what we agreed to do is to stick with the 6.5% in total costs, but actually also to make it very clear to our CEOs of our public services to remind them of what the headcount commitments were in 2017 in particular. As I've said to you, we want to get the dollars redeployed and actually working hard. We want to get the waste out of the system. That means that we're trusting CEOs to say which programs I need to stop, and by having a very clear policy program, the message should be very clear. Anything not in here, you should be stopping. We don't want resources wasted on that. Or you don't need to replace vacant jobs, and you should be mindful of the headcount that has been added over time. Sorry, Luke.
How important is the price of oil to this changes
Yeah, really important. I mean, really important. We don't believe the dual mandate model has worked. We want a single mandate. You know, inflation, high interest rates, cost of living, the impact that has on rising levels of unemployment is critical. So the first job that we have to do economically is to get inflation under control. We think making it very clear to the Reserve Bank that there is a single goal of price stability gives massive certainty to everybody in the country. Sorry, Bridie.
Sorry, Luke,
Luke, sorry, mate. Sorry, mate.
Just to follow on that, and that's legal laws obviously responsible for the
Yes.
Is the purpose of that she will be able to basically have authority in order to drive efficiencies and
Well, actually, David's role is very critical in all of that as well. So as Minister of Regulation, we are deadly serious about getting rid of red tape in this country. And as a result, David has a very broad remit to go through all government departments looking out at getting rid of red tape and regulations that are not adding any value. But obviously, David and Nicola working together through that will be really important. David, do you have anything else?
Yeah. Well, look, I'd just say, look, the answer is it's really, really important. I mean, people are being hit by rising prices, and that is making it very hard for people to get by. But it's a combination of getting the fiscal house in order and the regulatory house in order, so people can spend more time producing and less time paying tax for wasteful government spending or complying with wasteful government regulations. We deal to that, life becomes affordable again.
I'll go to Bridie and then Aaron.
Can I just say, backing up Mr Seymour and Mr Luxon on this matter, look, the Governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia said yesterday that inflation in that country is largely homegrown. And so it is here.
It is so.
And we've just seen the end of a frivolous government for the last 3 years and a monthly mess. And so we do understand collectively what has to be done here to deal to the cost of living and cost of inflation.
Sorry, guys, just to make sure we're managing these questions rather than everyone just shouting at us. Can we go to Bridie and then Aaron? Absolutely. 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 Yeah, we're going to make sure we have a public service that delivers for New Zealanders. We're very clear about that. We're focused on outcomes, not activity. And as long as those organisations get very focused on what they're there to deliver for people, we need our kids in school, we need better academic achievement, we need wait list times reduced. That's what we want them focused on doing. That'll be a decision for each CEO to determine how they deliver the dollars that we expect them to do. Well, we're going to be moving very quickly. I can't guarantee it'll be all before Christmas, but we're going to be pushing very hard. We'll actually have an expenditure review committee here made up within the coalition government to make sure that we've got representation from the parties as we review those savings that we expect to be made. Aaron?
You're removing requirements for digitalisation, removing the reduction of retail outlets and the generation ban when it comes to vaping. Is it just the wild west of vaping?
No, not at all. It's just that all three parties had issues with the measures that were passed before the election. You know, for example, limiting distribution to very few outlets and making, you know, the only store carrying cigarettes in a town in Northland just makes them a target for massive ram raids. We think there's issues around a 36-year-old can smoke, but a 35-year-old can't. We just think some of that doesn't work. We've seen smoking rates come down across multiple, generations of government. We expect that to continue. We'll have strong education campaigns, but we want to revisit all of that, and we want to make sure that actually vaping is a very good smoking cessation tool. We'll continue to support that, but we don't want vapes sold to under 18s in a chaotic way as it has been. Sorry, Jessica. Oh, sorry. You go. We already have supported that previously, and that has come through. But what we are going to commit to is making sure that vapes aren't sold to underage kids. Jessica.
You're obviously a very experienced politician. What does it mean to you to be back here today as the Foreign Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister? And what do you think the combination of those two roles, how will they help each other out overseas?
Well, I could give you 1,000 answers to that, including the fact that it's very privileged and to be in the situation we are. But when you've gone through the experience that we went through, we're pleased to be back and to ensure that those that said things about us which are not true did not prevail. It's about democracy we're talking about. So it's great to be back. It's a great chance to run a ministry where I know it's not domestically important to a lot of New Zealanders, but it should be. We are in the Blue Continent. We are really critically stretched out, needing far greater trading arrangements. We've got to do much better in terms of the trading deals we've got. So there's a lot to shoot for here, and in that sense, yeah, I'm personally grateful to have the chance to do it again.
Sure, Jessica. Yeah.
So Minister Peters is obviously overseas quite a lot, particularly on Thursdays when you're out of Wellington. Who will fill in then for you? So that will be David.
That'll be David.
And in terms of your regular meetings, I know this is a nuts and bolts question, but will the three of you meet regularly? Is that
Yeah, so one of the things that we want to do, we'll meet individually, and frankly, we've built relationships over the course of this conversation. We will just pick up the phone and physically catch up with each other. It's no problem. But we actually will have a formal coalition committee that actually is the three leaders, the three deputy leaders, and the leader of the House coming together as a clearinghouse for any issues that we need to be thinking about in the months ahead. Joe Moy. Well, I'm responsible for all ministers, irrespective of which party they've come from, but I'll do that obviously in conjunction and in conversation with my co-party colleagues. Sorry, Amelia.
We're not co-deputies.
No.
Get it right for a start.
There is one Deputy
What's wrong
Prime
with
Minister at a point in time. The role is shared and broken out at the 18-month mark, halfway through the term.
No, we're not sharing it either. I'm taking the first 18 months and David's taking the second 18 months.
Okay, right.
Right?
Okay, so do both of you agree with the new Prime Minister that the role is largely ceremonial?
Well, I think all ministerial roles are ceremonial to some extent. If you're the Minister of Health, you're not necessarily vaccinating people, although that could change now. I, however, also believe that all roles should be taken very seriously and involve a lot of hard work.
Sorry, beg your pardon. Now, look, please don't start off this government with your antagonistic attitude. You've lost. You lost. Right?
Sorry, hang on, guys, hang on.
Sorry, yes, Claudette.
If you can further the details around the two Wahine, Karen Shaw and Nicole McKinn. Now, they're coming to their portfolio with extensive lived experience and great gravity to their portfolio. Do you expect them that to move really quickly to establish the changes that can be made.
Tell you the first thing they'll say is they don't like being categorised by their ethnicity or their gender. There are two people that are coming into our cabinet, along with Brooke van Velden, along with Andrew Hoggard, and they all have a very good experience that they bring to this place, and they're all going to do an excellent job.
You might not categorise them, but Te Māori does, and we congratulate them on their positions. So it does actually signify a
Well,
participation for us.
You do, and I hope one day you'll stop.
Hey, sorry, mate, at the back there. Sorry, just hang on, guys. Sorry, we're going to do this with some order and decorum. So at the back there, sorry. Hey, mate, how are you?
Will the government call on a ceasefire in Gaza?
Well, look, our position is we want to see steps towards a ceasefire, but for a ceasefire to take place, you need that to be agreed between both parties. And typically a ceasefire involves, it's across all territories, it involves both parties, and there's clearly a pathway to peace. We know that military action, as we've been seeing in Gaza, is not the way to resolve peace. We need both Israel and Palestine to be in the two-party state process and Middle East peace process again. But what I'd say to you is, that what has been encouraging to see is the announcements that we've seen over the last 24 hours. We need to see how those work, and of course we want to see steps made towards a ceasefire. But you actually need to have both parties wanting to be able to create those conditions to do exactly that. Sorry, Jason?
Does your government still claim to be indexed to inflation?
Yes.
How
Craig?
is it responsible
Sorry?
to maintain, how is it fiscally responsible to maintain each nation's system?
Again, that's a conversation that we had with our National and New Zealand First Agreement. It's not something we could agree to. And in an MMP environment, there is compromise, and as a result, we won't be pursuing that in this term.
Well, nobody needs to guess what the ACT Party thinks about an issue like that, but also we are committed to a government. We've made a commitment in Mr Peters' coalition agreement to maintain the status quo for this term of Parliament.
Sorry, at the back there.
What's the time frame on changing the central bank's scheme? And David Seymour, what's the thinking about changing the time targets on the
I beg your pardon, can you just say what was the timetable on changing?
thinking behind changing the time targets on reducing inflation?
What you're asking is how quickly would it take to us to move to a single mandate? Yep, okay.
Yeah, so look, I think the legislation to put the Reserve Bank back to a single mandate, I expect will be a great urgency on the behalf of this government. In terms of, I think what you're asking is a pretty technical question about medium term versus specific time frames. In my view, the monetary policy remits should have specific time frames. This government and its coalition agreement has committed to investigating that view, and I'll respect the outcome of that investigation. In terms of the mortgage interest deductibility for landlords, it is hurting tenants by hurting landlords to make them pay more tax. We need to get out of that. Different parties had different views on what the timetable should be. ACT said it should be immediate. National wanted to do it in a series of steps. The compromises, we're doing it in a series of faster steps, and I think that landlords up and down the country and their tenants will be very pleased to benefit.
Okay, guys, we'll take 3 more questions. So can I just go to... do you want to go, mate? Yes. No, I mean, as you know, we had a policy around adding 300 police. Winston and New Zealand First had a policy around adding 500 police. We actually think that would be great, and it's just a question of we agreed a 2-year term. So, it's a good example of what I'm talking about. In an MMP environment, as we come together like this, we each had policies that were aligned with a similar goal. We had slightly different mechanisms for achieving it. We went with a version of a little bit of concession on time, but a bigger number. Well, again, what we want to do is come together as a government, and that'll be one of the things that we'll be discussing is actually how we broaden the terms of the COVID-19 inquiry. We actually want to learn from this experience. There will be other events in the future, no doubt, and it's important that we do that. So, well, we will work our way through that, but what I'm saying to you is that what is united is that we want to broaden the terms of that inquiry. Michael. Sorry, Michael. Again, we're in an MMP environment. It's compromise needed from everybody. What New Zealand First and National agreed to do was to support through to first reading and to select committee, but our commitment beyond that, we don't have commitment to pursue it beyond that. Sorry? Well, we all had our different views around that, but what we've agreed as a government is that we will pursue it through first reading and into select committee, but there's no commitment beyond that point. Okay, last question, Mikey. Sorry.
What do you say?
Sorry?
What do you say to critics who argue that you've got some big portfolios outside of cabinet?
Well, what I'd say to you is that, we are all committed to climate change. All of us here are very aligned around that. It is a major focus for us in our government. We all represented our policies through the election campaign. We want to be able to get those away. We are desperately committed to meeting our goals and our obligations. The means by which we do that will be different from this previous government, but we are determined to get our emissions profiles down.
Those who've got new ministers who've never been in Parliament before, how can you be confident that you're not throwing them into the fire, essentially?
Well, David's got more than I've got in terms of... No, I'll get there. Patience. I've got somebody, Casey Costello, who's a serious experienced police person, investigator, and with a serious record of respect out in their community. And that's the kind of person that you can give the job to, hit the ground running on day one. And after all, Bob Hawke ran for Prime Minister when he was outside and became the Prime Minister when he got inside. This can be done if you've got the right person. Yes. And I don't know David Seymour as well as he does, but I suspect he's got the same confidence.
I'd just say that Andrew Hoggard, 3 years as finance spokesperson, 3 years as president of Federated Farmers. He's familiar with the policy landscape. He's familiar with the international institutions relevant to farming. He's familiar with all of the players around farming and politics in New Zealand, and he still milks his own cows. So if you can tell me a better person, then maybe we should have investigated them.
Last question, Jenna.
Yeah.
Sorry. So hang on. Last question, Jenna. Yep.
But in these coalition agreements, you are tackling issues like the treaty, like the COVID response, like gender in sport. How are you going to ensure that the country is more unified following your term?
Well, we are determined to deliver for all New Zealanders. What is common is that New Zealanders expect us to build an economy that means that they're not dealing with the issues around the cost of living. Whether you're Māori, non-Māori, old, young, you expect us to work hard to make sure that you feel safe in your own communities around tackling law and order. You expect us to deliver better public services that are delivered on the basis of people's needs, not ethnicity. So we're making sure that we are strengthening democracy. We're making sure that we're making this a more united country. But we are determined, the three of us in our coalition government, to deliver for New Zealanders. We need to stop the talk, we need to get going, and we need to deliver outcomes for people that improves their daily lives.
And Mr. Peters, in 2017 you said that when you announced that you would go into coalition with the Labour Party, that capitalism needed to regain its human face. How do you reconcile that with going into coalition with the ACT Party?
You're saying we don't have a human face? I knew the media was nasty, but
it's a lovely face, David.
Thank you very much.
Well, I meant that back then, and the sad thing was that we were in a coalition government with a party that signed up to that and then went down the road with every woke secretive plan they could possibly engender and with the support of the New Zealand media. That's all stopped. We're back now governing for the mass majority of all New Zealanders. We just want a fair go.
All right, on that note, team.
Thank you very much.
Can I just say thank you very much? We are going to go... Sorry, guys, we're finishing. Thank you very much. We're going to go to work. Appreciate it.
I'll talk to you later, Claudette. Thank you very much.
Is it over?